Hey, Ronnie Jr.
I think things had changed by the time I had my second daughter. And I think once I had realized and reclaimed my power, so to speak, I was all about it. I was all about that life. And then after I had my second daughter, she was still very young. My husband was over at Dash Radio, and they kept asking me to come in and do a Latin show, a Latin music show. And I thought about it. And I think as much as I was still doing music, that's not where my headspace was. It was very much in the mommy world, even though I hated to admit it to myself. And so during that time, I still felt, even though I was much more comfortable sharing about my motherhood, whether it was on social media or what have you, in conversations, I still felt like I just was exhausted from feeling like I had two different lives. Like a good example was either my post on Instagram was me on stage with all the lights, or it was me in a garden with my babies. Like there was no in between. And I still felt that, even though I was comfortable sharing both at that point, it was still very separate. And so in my mind, I thought, well, what can I do to bring these worlds together for my own mental sanity? And there were no mom podcasts at the time. There were no mom shows. I know that sounds crazy to people right now because now everybody has one. But I remember thinking, well, they want me to do something at Dash. And I asked my husband, it's like, do you think I could have a mom show? Is that weird? To me, it sounded stupid. And I expected him to come back at me and go, I don't know if people are ready for that yet. There was only one other podcast. I researched, I looked. There was only one that I could find. And none of them were on live radio. And none of them were, interview based. And I just was just very hesitant. But I respect my husband's opinion, and he always tells me the truth. He'll tell me if something sounds whack. And he was like, that's a great idea. I think you should pitch it. I think we should just put it together right now. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, my husband's a cool guy, and he's a DJ, and he thinks it's cool. So maybe it's cool. And so I put together a show called Mom Life, Yo.
Mom
For
Life Yo. Okay.
Yeah.
Early on, like you said, there was only one other mom show you could kind of find, and
Yeah.
certainly cool, young, hip moms, I guess,
And the ones that I could find, it was very it was at the beginning of when podcasts were becoming a thing. And so it was very linear and sort of monotone. And that's not what I do. I come from TV. There are segments, on radio, there are segments, there's games, there's music, there's all of that. And that's what I'm used to. And so I thought, why not marry that with a motherhood story? And I didn't feel like an expert at motherhood by any means. So I said, well, I'll interview people. And that way the expert pressure is not on me. I'm not the one preaching to you about how to be a good mom or sharing my story. It'll be other people coming on, and I'm asking them questions. Also, I'm curious and I need to know answers. So they would come on, and we had moms, we had CEO moms of companies, we had moms who had gone through tough journeys with IVF or postpartum depression. We had moms who were just starting their own brands. It was such an exciting time, and we went live. And I love the energy of live because just anything can happen. And so, moms might have been cussing up a storm, or a baby might be crying in the studio, and it was fine. And then we'd cut to a break and we'd play a song that had to do with the theme of what was happening there, a popular song from popular artists. And it was so everything that I loved all in one show. And it went on to do really well. From there, a lot of brands started wanting to be involved. And that was such an interesting moment for me too, because as an artist, as a music artist, or even as a television, host person, you're always going like, please see me and like my
Yeah.
stuff and
Hmm.
collaborate with me and pay me money. But when it came to the mom space, and when you had a voice that spoke to other moms, because moms are the biggest consumers, the mom is who decides what cleaning supplies come into the house, who we're voting for, all of these things is usually the mom's deciding, right? And so brands came knocking, and they were like, what do you need? What free stuff? How will you please shout us out and we'll pay you this? Or can I come on your show? And I was like, what is happening? It was such a shift. And I felt like I had stumbled upon gold. Not that I was doing it for that reason. I was just wanting to be creative again and also bring my motherhood journey into it. But it that door flew completely open. Then there were all these events and conferences for moms, and I was at the very beginning of it, of that time. And so I would come in and go, well, like, I have a mom show and it's live on air and we have 200,000 listeners a week, and and they were eating it up. And so I made all these great relationships with brands that then I was able to sift out and weed out the ones that weren't necessarily resonating with me and my journey, but the ones that I really wanted. And I'm just like, when was the last time I was able to do this? Because usually as an artist, you're like, I'll take it all.
As you said a second ago, like when you work on those other projects, your hands are out. Like, please, you're inquiring if somebody will work with you or seek your talents and take it to the next level together collaboratively. This was different. This was finding that voice. This is all about career reinvention, which I love. I think that's fantastic. I mean, I know you through Saluna, through the TV hosting, through the solo artistry, and now finding a new voice is so fantastic. And I know that's one of many new voices you'll find along your journey.